Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are new, this is a channel where I use the Oracle Lenormand or Lenormand or Lenormand, however you want to pronounce it. It's a European 36 card system, and I use it to make predictions and to do commentary on the issues of the day, political and social. If you want to learn how to do what I do, I have a book that's called The Language of Le Normand, available wherever books are sold, as they say. I have a course that is self-directed, so that that I've taped videos, and so you can purchase that. My deck that I use is my own deck. It's called Erica's Lenormand of Hope, and if you click the More button, you can see links to all of those. Um, so here we are, Monday, the day before the Lunar New Year, the day before the eclipse, the day before the new moon, a pivotal day, apparently. Maybe not so much the day itself, but certainly the days before it and the days um, after, for like the next month or so, are going to be really important. We know that the whole Pluto and Aquarius thing and everything sort of blowing up and uncovering things that we have um, chosen not to see or didn't know that they were out there to see. But it's intense. I took the weekend off because uh, I think everything is intense. But it doesn't mean that we then don't get back on the saddle and refuse to close our eyes to what the realities of our current situation are. So no particular order, but I did want to maybe start with the fact that Obama was at the All-Star game, or I don't know, some basketball game with Michelle and I think their younger daughter. And they both got a standing ovation, which is great. I know that he did a podcast. I'll maybe put a link to the podcast. Um, and he answered questions about the current political situation, including the whole monkey mess. And, I will say what others have observed. I mean, he's a gentleman always, but in a way that, I don't know, feels to me, this is just my opinion, it feels to me like he's from another time. Now, I know he was elected in 2008. I get it. Had two terms, but he was elected at a time when people were optimistic, hopeful. Probably a lot of people thought that, I mean, I know for a fact that there were people who thought that if he were elected, it would mean that we were in a post-racial society, which, I mean, that never made sense to me, but okay. Clearly, that's not the effect. We know his election twice made a lot of people really angry, and this is why we are where we are today. And so I think, the interview was, again, all about civility and politeness and respect for the office, etc. But, you can't bring a powder puff to a gunfight. And this is the latter. Uh, which made me want to. Oh, one thing he said that I thought was interesting is that he says, at a certain point you age out, meaning, well, he as much as said that he thought that people who are heading up the party now are a little long in the tooth, and that the way needs to be made for the next generations. And we need to stop looking behind us and instead look at where we're going. And young people are the ones who have the most vested interest in that and the most skin in that game. And so I agree with that. I think that was a word to, you know, a lot of people. Schumer, Collins, I could name a lot of names. Uh, but it put me in mind of Kamala Harris, who is 60 something, I think, and who did a big splashy announcement about the new direction of um, her attention. And then and then we heard nothing. So I'm not sure what that's about. Um, I think what I would like to know is I just want to cut to the chase on Kamala Harris. I know that one of the things that she's doing is helping to develop young leaders for um, what's coming in, and that's great. But I would like to know once and for all, and I mean, I say once and for all, but of course things change. But I'm just going to say, for once and for all, does she have intentions of running again? We know that she wrote that tell-all book about the campaign and that made her a lot of enemies in the Democratic Party amongst the, you know, core Democratic Party. She also said that she knew she couldn't work from the inside. She needed to work from the outside. I guess what I want to know is what does that mean? Like work and do what from the outside? Because you could certainly run as an outsider, maybe run on a progressive ticket, whatever. But I just want to know whether she intends to run again. I think that, as my partner says, it seems as though she got the stuffing knocked out of her with the loss. And that's fair, because I mean, did not we all get the stuffing knocked out of us when she lost? I would have thought she would have taken, the time from that November through New Year's Day to kind of lick her wounds and get herself together and get back in the ring. But that was a year ago, and she's still not back in the ring, which is making me think she will not be back in the ring. So I would just like to look at her and see what the cards have to say about her chances of being a top of the ticket contender. She certainly won't take the bottom of the ticket because she never goes backwards. She's always moving forwards, which is why she's not running for governor. She probably sees that as a step down. Um, so what is her plan? Does she even have one? She might still be just floating trial balloons. And I know, I always say we need to stop looking for the one who's going to save us. I never thought that she would be the one to save us because there is not going to be a one to save us. We have to save ourselves. And I'll say more about that in a little bit. But let's just look at Kamala Harris and what's going on with her in terms of her political intentions. So we're looking for the older woman that will stand for Harris. Okay, so this stands for Kamala Harris. And I'm only going to pull five because there's other things I want to spend time on. So we have the heart, the letter, Harris, the bouquet, and the tree. Interesting. We already know that there are people jockeying for position, like Gavin Newsom. Pritzker. There will be others. But, she had past, past position, the heart of the people. She had the votes. She had them. She's in the center. But it's interesting. The bouquet I can mirror with the letter. I think she still thinks this should have been hers. That's what I think. And I think she may even think that if she plays a long game, a long enough game, she can move back to center stage. So I wanted to look at what her intentions were. I mean, that was really the point of looking at it. Whether or not that will happen remains to be seen, but I'm going to say that uh, if her current what place in the cultural sphere is any indication, she's not doing a wonderful job of making her presence known. So, yeah. Uh, I saw that Wes Moore, uh, Black governor, has said that he, in fact, is not going to run for the presidency. And he also had some critiques, a critique of the party, which I thought was good. What did he say? He said, he said the Democrats are the party of no and slow. And I think he's right. Democrats are all about incrementalism, doing studies on things, taking their time, weighing things, and that is not the skill set that is called for in this moment. So good for Wes Moore calling that out. I do believe that he will be really active in galvanizing the vote amongst younger than millennials. So that's great. I think that's good. I think Kamala Harris is probably still out there selling her books. I think she took time off from the campaign, I mean, the book tour, to make that splashy, not so splashy announcement about what her pack was going to do moving forward. But I mean, that was the beginning of the month, and we've seen or heard nothing. So I'm not too hopeful about her chances of being a big player on a bigger stage. Sorry about that for those who are hoping that that will happen. Um, the felon and the Epstein files. So my friend Marianne from Revealing Light, some of you found me through her channel because I had her as a guest on my channel. She had me as a guest on her channel a couple of times, I think. And I was listening to her latest last night, and I thought she made a really good point that I think is worth remembering. We are going through just an awful, awful period right now. I don't think that's news to anybody because it's not. But she said, just think, had the felon not been elected, he would not have created this um, poop storm that we're in. And not for nothing, as they say in Jersey, but the Epstein files could easily have remained as dormant as they had for decades across multiple administrations of both parties. And so, as awful as this is, and as awful as this is, it's important to take time for yourself. That's what I did on the weekend. I didn't watch any news or anything till today. Um, Try to sleep, which I'm not doing a wonderful job at. But it's good that we know. and it's good that we're learning more. If there are only 2% of the files out, and if the DOJ has said, done and dusted, we're not doing this anymore, we're not giving anybody anything more, we're not investigating anymore, we're not looking at anything anymore, they think that that's the end of it because that's the message that they've gotten from, dear leader, shut this down. It's not going to be shut down. So that's obvious, that's clear. And I wanted to give a shout out to all of the citizen journalists that are out there doing the hard work. They talk about the beehive, bayhive, and the hive mind. Well, there's a lot of hive activity going on now, which I think is terrific, where, especially on places like Substack, which is where I write, where I sometimes do free readings. Um, on the video portion of that platform. But there's a lot of good writing that's going on. These are people who, some of them are journalists, some are people who are researchers, some are people who have day jobs with families and, dinner to cook and kids to check homework of, and then, in the midnight hours, they burn the midnight oil and they are connecting the dots that are in these files and coming up with information that the DOJ and the felon would just as soon have us not connect. For example, what I brought to you last week when I talked about Zorro Ranch. I had a couple of people tell me, oh, no, no, it's not a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Um, so, I mean, shout out to these citizen journalists. If you ask, a lot of people will say, what can I do? Well, you can connect dots just like everybody else can connect dots. You don't have to get up and go anywhere. You just sit at a computer. We have at our disposal what we have. And, at the very least, it's worth checking out some of the people who are doing really good work on this. Of course, Aaron Parnas is the one that comes to mind immediately. He's doing really good work. I think his dad, Lev, with some occasional missteps, is also doing some good work. Uh, there are other people out there, um, just regular people who are, again, finding the connective tissue in this huge, just indiscriminate dump and making um, making some sense out of it. It's as though it's a big, huge zillion piece jigsaw puzzle and everybody's doing their part. And so shout out to all of those citizen journalists, including, I'm just going to say, I don't like her. I don't agree with her politics at all. But I will include the podcaster who's a little bit more than a citizen journalist. She's got tons and tons of viewers on her podcast, millions, something like that. Candace Owens. Candace Owens is connecting the part of the connective tissue, which involves Erica Kirk. So these are not, none of this stuff is discrete. In other words, separate and distinct issues, one from another. They're all intertwined, they're all connected. And I'm just very impressed with the work that people are doing on that. So uh, I want to look at the felon and I want to look at how the eclipse will treat him. We know that in 10 days, when we're still in the shadow of the eclipse, he's going to be doing the State of the Union address. And there is talk on the Democratic side to absent themselves from that address. This is the one where, they take forever. He's announced and then there's this applause and he walks down the aisle and It's just a big thing. It happens every year. And essentially, he'll say the State of the Union is good. Well, the State of the Union is not good. So the Democrats are considering boycotting that. So let's look at that. Why don't we jump to that and then we can always go back to other things. So, how will the State of the Union address go? I think that's the question. How will the State of the Union address go? I'm going to let Spirit pick all the cards. How will the State of the Union address go? It's in about 10 days, a little bit less than that. I think it's on either on a Tuesday or Thursday, I think, um, of, I guess, next week at this point. How will the State of the Union address go? Okay, so we have clouds, we have the young man, we have the whip, we have the house, and we have the letter. And I'm probably going to draw a couple of cards on the house and the letter, but I will say that they're going to have to keep the text of it short. I think he has trouble reading. I think he has trouble reading a teleprompter. And even if he doesn't have trouble reading a teleprompter, he tends to stray from whatever is on the teleprompter. He will do that and he will sound like he doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he will come across as bellicose. It's also kind of late at night for him. And he has that sundowning thing, entertainment purposes only. Uh, so I think he will come across as bellicose uh, and aggressive, but also confused. So who knows what words will come out of his mouth. Again, this is also a card of bellicosity, meaning he'll want to pick fights. If he thinks he's a dictator, right? So, the whole voting thing, and you're going to have ID, and we're going to bomb whoever. And so it's going to be a bombastic, ugly performance. And then we have the house, which would be the White House, and then the letter. So I'm going to pull cards. Let me pull cards on um, everything. Remember this first term when he gave his inaugural address? He talked about American carnage. And everybody was like, wait, what? I think it's going to be that kind of a speech. So, again, this is the card for confused, cloudy thinking, making no sense. And look who shows up. The felon. I'll be so glad when one day I don't have to use my poor, lovely man as the felon, but here we are. Uh, and then we have the scales and the fish. So again, I think he will seem confused. Here he is. I think his equilibrium, both physical and literal, will be off, and he will be emotionally uh, unregulated. That's what I think. He will do what I suggested. So here he is, in his most aggressive, chin out in that Mussolini kind of way, um, affect. And the clarifiers are the stork, the clover, and the tower. So this is the government, right? And he will say, nothing to see here. Everything's great. Everything's rosy. The Dow is up however many. I've created 10 zillion jobs. Food in the grocery store is free. He'll just sling a lot of BS that's not true. Um, and just do this happy dance saying, he has said before, don't believe your eyes, believe what I say. Nothing to see here. Very much like the Wizard of Oz, frantically spinning that wheel behind the curtain. And I mean, everything he was saying was a lie. So everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Aren't you happy to live in the greatest country of all with the greatest president who's ever lived? That's how it's going to come across. At the same time, though, he will be selling, my mother's expression, selling wolf tickets, making threats. Both of these cards are that. This is the card for the bully, and this is the card. This is harsh language. If you all don't get with the program, I'm sending ice to your house tomorrow. He's just going to be ugly and bully-like with language that, I mean, will seem violent, I think. uh, and will make us, despite what he says in that previous line about how everything's great, make us really worry about the future if he's going to be the one who's the president for the next 2.5 years. Fourth card is the house, and the clarifiers are the sun, the tree, and crossroads. So he's going to, give this impression from the White House or wherever he gives it from. And I guess he does it at the I don't know, wherever he gives it from. Everything's fine, sunny day, everything's great. Um, the State of the Union is healthy, but he's also going to veer from the teleprompter. I think they'll try to make it short. A lot of times these State of the Union addresses can go on and on and on. They will try to make it short. They will try to uh, give him a script that he's meant to stick to, but he won't. He'll go off script. And then finally, the fifth card, we have the letter, and the clarifiers are the rider, the fox, and the anchor. I think that the message that he will give through his State of the Union speech, the message he will give is that he's not going anywhere. And believe what I tell you. Don't believe what you're hearing from my critics and the pundits because they don't know what they're talking about. And I think he thinks he'll be president for life. That's what I think he thinks. But I mirror that with the clouds. He is not well. So, if you're going to watch the State of the Union for information, you won't learn anything about the actual state of the nation, but you will learn more about how unwell the leader of this country is. Um, I guess a good question would be, now that we know how he's going to do, a good question would be, how will it be received? How will his speech be received? Apparently, people are leaving the MAGA movement in droves. And again, a lot of this is Epstein um, caused. We have yet to see the Republicans in, you know, in large numbers pull away from him, probably because a lot of them are in the files. But, I don't know. I feel like I should see more on the Democratic side, wanting the law to be obeyed and all of the files disseminated to us. So, uh, I think there's a lot of names. It crosses party lines, as I've said. And I think that the governmental response to these files is it pales in comparison to the international response. And that's really embarrassing for the felon and company. So anyway, let's see, how will his State of the Union speech be received? I'm going to use the garden for uh, the public, the American public. How will they receive the State of the Union speech? Okay, let's look for the garden. Well, I knew it wasn't the last card, but it's the next to the last card. And because it's the next to the last card, that means it can't be the card in the middle, right? There's only one other card. So I'm going to put it down. There's only one card after it, and I'm going to put three cards in front of it. Now I have four, and then I'm going to put the fifth card here. Okay. How will his State of the Union speech be received? And I think I'm going to pull um, some clarifiers on the center card, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. And then I will pull on the last two cards. Okay. So the line of five that I got was the child, the whip again. How will it be received? The rider, the garden. That's the card I thought would be in the middle, but was not. And then the book. Okay. So first off, he's going to come across as being in his dotage, meaning his second childhood, meaning um, not up for the job, child card. Um, he will come across as really argumentative and ugly. His his manner will be fiery. In the center, since we didn't have the garden, we have the rider. People will take a message from this, but I drew some clarifiers and we'll look at that in a second. Then we have the garden, which is the public response, and the book. And I can mirror the book with the first card. This is the last card, the fifth card. I can mirror the fifth card with the first card. And this tells me that people will say, he doesn't know what the he's talking about. He's all over the place. His analysis, to call it analysis, is to really give it a gravitas that it does not have. The words coming out of his mouth don't make any sense. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Therefore, we don't know what he's talking about. This is not good. And I think that it will get people worked up, but not in his favor. I think against him. I mean, he's already got, incredibly bad will amongst the population, right? People are falling off by the minute. So in the end, you're only going to have those Christian nationalist, um, KKK types. Um, People who voted for him are going to say, "What did I do? What did I do?" Okay, so I pulled on the center card. The center card is the rider, and the rider is about news coming in. So what is the news? Well, we have the key, the bear, and the tree. And I think that the takeaway message from the State of the Union will be that it will be very, very clear that he is an out of control narcissistic bully who's been in the position way too long. Time to get the hook. Now, the garden is the fourth card, and those clarifiers are interesting. The ship, the scythe, and the heart. Um, I think that the way that he is received in the State of the Union, which will certainly not be cheers and applause, I don't think from anybody, except, I don't know, Lindsay, uh, will make it clear he needs to go. Now, I always go, I think it will be very stressful for him to do this address. I think his ill health will be obvious and that people will realize he's been there too long. It's time for him to go. Well, one day in there was too long, but you know what I mean. Okay, the fifth card was the book. And remember when I mirrored it with the first card, the child, Uh, the book is about things we don't know. And it looked like he was just out of his depth and had no idea what he was doing up there. Again, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Clarifiers. Oh, are clouds. And then dog, and then birds. So it will be very clear that he doesn't know what he's doing up there, that he's very confused, and it will start people talking, including even the people closest to him will be talking about the fact that I can again mirror this first card with our last card, the birds, talking about that the fact that he is just not up for the job. Now we already know that Stephen Miller's and Russell Vogt are the ones doing the job. But it will become abundantly clear to everyone, including those people who are loyal to him, that this is not good. Everybody will see the man behind the curtain. So I personally, my partner said they don't want to watch. I'm going to watch with popcorn. Um, I think it will be an uh, uncomfortable experience for him, for anyone who is a fan of his. I think it'll be really uncomfortable, kind of like that Biden moment was. Remember that debate where you just like froze like McConnell? It's going to be like that. And listen, good. Not mad about that. Um, so we know that there is currently a shutdown, a partial shutdown. This shutdown only really affects DHS, Department of Homeland Security, because we want to get rid of those masks. We want to get rid of ICE. There's things we want to do. And so the Democrats have said, no, you have made no concessions. You're not talking like you're going to make any concessions. So I guess we stay shut down. So again, it doesn't affect a lot of other operations in government, which have been funded for the next month or so, but it does affect DHS. So I guess I want to know about the shutdown of DHS. And I think I'll use the coffin for the shutdown. And I just want to see what cards are around it that will tell me whether it'll be long or short. And if it's short, who's the one who breaks the stalemate? Because please God, don't let it be the Democrats. Okay, let's see what we get. So we're looking for the coffin, and that will stand for this partial shutdown, which is affecting largely DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Okay, again, I thought it would be in the middle. It's not in the middle. It's the next to the last card, which means it's not going to be the center card. Okay, so I'm going to put it down, and it's the coffin, the shutdown. And then I'm going to put three cards in front of it. That gives me four. And then the one card in my hand will be the fifth. Okay. So, okay. So we have the tree, the stork, the woman, the coffin, and the rider. And I pulled cards not on everything, but on a few of them. I think this could last a while. And I also think looking at the final card, it will have sent the message that we need sent to the felon and Christie and everybody at the DHS and ICE. So this it will send a message because it's going to last. I like the fact that we have the stork as the second card because I think there will be some change that we will want to see. There will have to be concessions. I don't think that the Democrats will give in this time. Now, the third card, this is Kristi Noem herself. And I pulled clarifiers for her and for the other two main cards, the fourth and the fifth. So this is Kristi Noem. We have the garden, we have the lily, and we have the wit. So she is, largely responsible for the public having their peace disturbed. Here's the shutdown. And look at the clarifiers. We have clouds, birds, and mice. I think that this shutdown will be ironic, one of the nails in the coffin of the felon. I think that he and his team will not know what to do. They will not know what to do. They will be in conversation with each other, not so much with Democrats, with each other, and they're going to be like, scurrying mice, like chickens with their heads cut off, not knowing what to do because for once the bullying didn't work. Now, where is this sudden infusion of courage and conviction coming from on the part of the Democrats? I think it has to do with the Epstein files. I mean, yeah, the felon could give everybody a check, and half the people would say, "Yeah, I don't want your money, just leave." So his currency, speaking of checks, is devaluing by the minute, meaning his personal currency, his personal worth to the Republican Party is sinking. The last card was the rider, and the clarifiers are fish, scales, and sun. I do think that the message will have been sent by this shutdown, partial shutdown. This is the money that they want allocated, but I think that they will have to come to some sort of agreement that we will be happy with. I can mirror it with the tree, though. I think it's going to take a while. Good. The longer it takes, the worse that is for the felon and his plan. So that's great. Uh, let's see. I want to see how the felon physically, and I guess, mentally, will weather the next, I'm going to say the next couple of weeks. So how will he weather the next couple of weeks? Um, I'm going to use the tree because I'm actually looking at his health and see what we get. Okay, so this is the felon's health in the next couple of weeks. Okay, I just pulled five. We have the scythe, we have the tower, the tree, the ring, and the book. So I'm just going to say that we already know his health is not good. The scythe is terrible. Um, this is the card for um, an unaliving. However that happens, it could be your own system that does it to you, or something else. I don't know. But there will be, I think we will get some news that for him will be bad news about his health, and I think it'll come out of the blue. It's not anything that we'll be expecting. Pluto and Aquarius, eclipse, all of that. Um, I do know that he feels isolated, lonely, kind of adrift. And I think that he goes around and around and around and around in his head thinking about that, you know, trying to find people to call up in the middle of the night, to come keep him company, that kind of thing. But let's pull a clarifier on that tree. Well, his physicality, he's overweight. He eats horribly. And I think that's going to catch up with him. His body's going to give him a message that is going to sink him. So, and then let's look at the ring. And let's look at the book. So, you know, the ring and the clover are interesting cards when you think of them together, because one of the things that these are about, if we're talking about health, um, one is acute and one is, that I dropped a card, and one is chronic. So this is chronic illness, this is acute illness. I think he has both, right? I mean, that venous insufficiency, that's going to be chronic. His overweight and cholesterol, those are going to be chronic. But I think he's going to have acute issues as well. Um, I do think that there are, you know, people who still blow smoke uh, and tell him how great he is, young women. And I think he takes great solace in that. Because it's not Melania doing it, let me just say. There is something I feel like in the next couple of weeks that's going to happen that we're not expecting. The stork is about positive change. I'm just going to say this positive change is not for him. I think it's for us. And then we have the star and the house. I think uh, at the very least, we're closer to his exiting stage left. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2 weeks, but I mean, of course, logic dictates that he's closer to stage left than he is right now. All of us are closer to stage left than we were 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, that's common sense. But I think it's interesting that I can take the scythe and mirror it with the house. So I think there will be some disruption to how things are done at the White House, because he could have an event. We'll just put it like that. Uh, these next couple of 2 or 3 weeks, I think, are critical for him. I mean, and so are the following 6 months, but I'm not even sure that he'll be here in 6 months. I know I've said that before. I'm saying it again. Let's see. Um, I guess I want to look at the Epstein situation writ large, right? I just want to see, uh, we know the ripples and the repercussions that are happening around the world. We should have more of them here. They are happening here, captains of industry and titans of business and medicine and everything else are falling here. That's great. We haven't seen fallout though in the government because the felon cannot get rid of anybody because then, as far as his mind works, it's an admission of guilt, which of course he is guilty and he doesn't want to admit it. So, what will happen moving forward with the files? Ken, supposedly we've seen 2% of them. 2%. The law that was signed uh, and took effect said we're supposed to see them all. So, what's next for the files? Maybe I'll make this my last question. What's next for the files? They popped up pretty fast. That stands for the files. Well, this is juicy enough that it makes me want to pull some more cards. Okay. So, this is not for all time. This is kind of looking at, well, what's next? So we have the scythe, the snake. Here's the files. Here's the tower. And here's the sun. Now we know again that they've said, oh, nothing to see here. We've released as much as we're going to release. We're not going to show you anymore. Let's move on. Okay. This is a tough card. This is a card that is damaging and destructive to him and his administration. Why? Well, let's look at the last card, the one we can mirror it with. Because things will be brought to light. Does he really think that the DOJ is the only entity that has these files? Because they're not. There are foreign governments that have these files, more than one. So this is just incredibly damaging, and everything will come to light. Second card is the snake. This will be a problem for him. The letter is in the middle, that stands for the files, but look, problem for whom? His government. Because it's rotten to the core, is it not? Okay. So then I pulled clarifiers on everything, and the clarifiers here are crossroads, book, and star. He would like to just cut it out, shut it down, leave it alone. But as I mentioned, there are citizen journalists. We can't get the information one way, we'll get the information another way. And this is the information that they don't want known. But we will see it. Not today, not tomorrow, but it will affect, it will destroy his future and the future of his government. Second card is the snake. Clarifiers are the young man, the key, and the stork. I think that trouble will be created for the felon in regard to these files. This could be a whistleblower inside who says, okay, well, You have 2%. Here's another 8%. Now you have 10%. I think there will be whistleblowers who will unlock the rest of these files, which is good for us. Trouble for him, but good for us. Historic positive change. Here's the files themselves. Here are the girls and the women and the boys affected. And let's not use that term, underage women. As I've mentioned before, an underage woman is a child. So these are the children, male and female. Um, and they will bring him down through a sacrifice. So what does that mean? A lot of the victims, uh, survivors, sorry, have said, they know names, they could name names. They have hesitated to do that because of their own safety. Like they may have signed NDAs or they're just afraid for their physical safety because, but I think, and this is a centered line, so I think it's going to happen soon. I think they will bring him down by sacrificing their worry and concern and fear for their own well-being. And I think they will whistleblow. I think they will name names. They'll either have Massey do it or they'll do it themselves. The names that we have not yet seen. So that will get things rolling. Fourth card is the Tower. That's the card for government. It's a card for the White House. This is the card for the occupant of the White House. And what will be the result of the Epstein um, uncovering? Because we're going to get more than the 2% we've got already. Dun, 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 of this government, of this administration. It will bring it down. I've seen that from the beginning, that this situation will bring them down. It's going to bring a lot of people down, but uh, so everything comes to light. Now, again, a lot of this is about money, right? It was about because as I've said here before, a long time ago, Epstein's stock in trade was sex, sure, but it was also blackmail. Blackmail was really the business. The means was all that stuff, but it was about blackmail um, and money. I think it will mean that even his closest allies leave him. Now, they may all leave on the same boat. They may leave with him, but uh, he will be deserted by people who have been loyal. Um, this will be his undoing. I promise. Okay, I think that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow, my intention is to write on Substack. Um, you know that Lena from Lena Down Under uh, will be my co-presenter on Wednesday for our show Worldview 360. So that will be on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Eastern. Would love for you to come and watch it. It's live. Uh, I may or may not pop on here tomorrow. We'll see. It depends on my time and what's going on in the news. But thank you for spending some time with me. Thank you for your comments on the last video. I read them all. Thank you. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes, your shares, your hypes. Oops, almost knocked over my ring light. Um, hit the button if you'd like notification of my live. But I mean, the live's going to be, like I said, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific. I appreciate all the support. I really do. I think sometimes these kinds of channels get suppressed a little bit, but but this channel continues to grow, and I know it is thanks to you. So I appreciate it, and I'm just trying to do my best in my own little way, old lady with cards, to help us navigate these waters. So I hope you have a great Monday night, and I will see you very soon. Take care.